Let's go.
What happens, then, when a major WNBA star experiments with a whole different sport? What if she receives more attention there than she ever received in her own league? Caitlin Clark experienced that at the RSM Classic. She became the main attraction rather than merely a performer.
Okay. So serious. Did you put snacks in here? Yeah. You guys want to get out here and hit some? Hit it hard. We're here.
So, Caitlin Clark is playing golf again. She is playing in, she played in another Pro-Am, and as expected, you know, Caitlin Clark golf is the most relevant thing in women's basketball.
The problem is that although golf enthusiasts and legends were fully behind her, her WNBA contemporaries weren't. They weren't overly happy. Is there something much more serious going on here, or is it simply jealousy? Let's take a closer look at this.
Continue to work the camera back.
Caitlin's playing in Pro-Ams right now.
I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I'm a big fan of Caitlin Clark, obviously, being a women's sport, and there's not a lot that this young woman cannot do. This is her second shot into the par 4 13.
All right, let's get into the specifics. 4 years, Caitlin Clark has been creating a lot of buzz. I take it that she won WNBA Rookie of the Year in 2024? She has established herself as one of the most captivating young players in basketball, renowned for her incredible three-pointers and her ability to lead her team like a pro. However, her path hasn't exactly been easy. Even inside her own league, her intense competition and self-assurance have not always been embraced. She now competes in the RSM Classic as a basketball player seeking pleasure and a challenge in addition to being an athlete. Caitlin uses golf as a means of escape. And here's the thing, she didn't simply take part. She really did a fantastic job collaborating alongside PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan and RDER Cup captain Zach Johnson. She soon proved to everyone that she wasn't your average amateur. We are discussing drives that are 270 yards long. Everyone, including herself, was astounded by her charm and attention. She simply shrugged it off and refocused after making a mistake, such as that initial drive into the lake. Caitlin is unique because of her perseverance. This is what's absurd, though. The WNBA was completely silent while the golf world applauded her. Nothing on social media, no congratulations, nothing. Furthermore, it wasn't an error. It was a deliberate choice. This may appear strange to those who haven't been following, but for those observing her career, because she doesn't fully fit the WNBA's narrative, Caitlin Clark has frequently been perceived as a disruptor. She wasn't simply smashing golf strokes at the RSM Classic. She was interacting with admirers everywhere. People were waiting in line to get autographs. Children looked up to her. Her parents were also praising her for being an excellent role model. Even the daughter of Zach Johnson requested a picture. These weren't merely pleasant times. They served as a masterclass in brand development. Caitlin wasn't merely playing around with her fan base. She was creating connections between many sports. She was demonstrating to the world that female athletes are capable of pursuing interests outside of their primary sport. In the meantime, tensions inside the WNBA began to rise. We saw these tweets from accounts linked to certain players that are a little unclear. Statements such as, "Stay in your lane," or just, "Funny how some people get all this attention." These remarks weren't made at random. It was obvious that some people were disturbed by Caitlin's rising fame. Listen, she has encountered resistance before. There were early rumors that she should be more modest since she was overly conceited. Despite the fact that male athletes frequently receive accolades for the same thing, critics referred to her self-assurance. Usually, Caitlin continued to lead her squad, play her game, and disregard it. However, the criticism felt different this time. It wasn't only about her game. It was about her succeeding when she ventured outside of basketball. Let's now discuss the reaction from the golf community. The PGA Commissioner, Jay Monahan, was constantly praising Caitlin. He referred to her as transcendent, a term that is rarely used, even by experts. Her humility was her greatest strength, according to legend Zach Johnson, who called her a rare breed. Her skill and character are admired by these seasoned pros. However, the RSM Classic crowd shouting of Caitlin Clark may have been the most telling moment. A golf event was being dominated by the star of a basketball game. That is really amazing. Meanwhile, the WNBA said nothing. They blew a huge opportunity to profit from her broad appeal. Some claim it's jealousy. Some contend that Caitlin doesn't represent the league. The lack of support was obvious, regardless of the cause. They were unable to even send her a simple congratulations while she was promoting women's sports and her own league. Golf enthusiasts were raving about Caitlin on social media for dispelling myths and attracting new lovers to the game. However, WNBA fans were split. Some claimed she was increasing awareness of the league. Others said she was pursuing her own glory and overshadowing teammates. It's the old-fashioned tall poppy syndrome, in which people want to cut someone down if they rise too high. However, Caitlin didn't appear to be bothered. During a post-round interview, she handled the criticism with dignity. "I'm just here to enjoy myself and improve," she declared. She was appreciative of the opportunity and described golf as a difficult but fantastic retreat. Her words served as a straightforward yet effective reminder. She is not attempting to get their approval. She's merely having fun. This way of thinking is what makes Caitlin so endearing and real. She is concentrated on her objectives and unmoved by the commotion. She is following her passion in her own unique way, whether she is making a three-pointer or a 270-yard drive. Such self-assurance is uncommon, particularly in sportsmen who are frequently under pressure to fit in. Additionally, a few of the LPGA celebrities commented that I would love to watch Caitlin perform more. Her admirers praised her for bridging the gap between basketball and golf and referred to her as a breath of fresh air. This massive outpouring of support stood in stark contrast to the WNBA's apathy. Let's not sugarcoat it. Not only is the WNBA's silence frustrating, but it also reveals a league that appears to be in turmoil and finds it difficult to sell its players. Caitlin's ascent via individual success exposes the league's shortcomings and its unwillingness to welcome one of its most promising players. Rather than commemorating her achievements, the league and certain players have opted to maintain their distance. It's a missed opportunity to express the least. Caitlin doesn't require approval from the WNBA. Her deeds are more powerful than their words. She was more than just a golfer at the RSM Classic. A new generation of young fans who had never even seen a WNBA game were motivated by her. Her basketball career suddenly piqued the interest of their parents, who are passionate golfers. Caitlin Clark was constructing a bridge that the WNBA, despite criticism from certain WNBA players, Caitlin's star continued to grow. She was more than just a golfer or basketball player. She was a pioneer. Despite her enemies' attempts to undermine her, Caitlin continued to enjoy the experience and motivate others while staying true to her values. What comes next for the WNBA and Caitlin Clark? Will they accept her success at last? Or will jealousy and politics continue to stand in the way? What about the world of golf? Is it possible that Caitlin will compete in more professional events or anything more significant? Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for anyone's approval, that much is certain. The world is undoubtedly observing her as she forges her own path. There is more to the WNBA's quiet than meets the eye. It's an option. Although Caitlin Clark is being acknowledged as a rising star in the golf world, her own league has chosen to overlook her accomplishments, and some of its members are openly insulting her. This is the worst part, though. It simply serves to increase Caitlin's fan base. Now let's discuss the consequences. The fan reactions and all the consequences for Caitlin's future. She most likely didn't anticipate her success turning into a firestorm after her incredible performance at the RSM Classic. It was meant to be an enjoyable diversion and an opportunity for her to demonstrate her competitive spirit in a new setting. However, rather than receiving recognition, Caitlin became embroiled in an escalating conflict. Following her exceptional performance, the subtle taunts from WNBA players began to intensify. One famous athlete even tweeted, "Don't get it twisted, golf enthusiasts, she's not that good. I wrote because I was tired of mediocrity being promoted by others just because they think her charm is intriguing." Whoa. These weren't just any old trolls. These were peers of Caitlin's who understand the challenges of being successful in professional sports. However, they chose to undermine her rather than stand by her. The golf community, however, reacted entirely differently. Supporters couldn't stop praising her composure, innate intelligence, and interpersonal skills. Jay Monahan, the PGA Commissioner, put it perfectly. She contributes transcendence to the game. It goes beyond just skill. We need heart, humility, and the kind of competitive fire. More in athletics. There was more to that compliment than meets the eye. It was sincere gratitude for someone who completely delivered by stepping beyond of her comfort zone. However, Caitlin was losing favor in one sphere while finding lovers in another. The WNBA's inability to acknowledge her accomplishments became a clear issue. The league was unable to even send a congrats message to one of their greatest players, who is making women's sports famous in novel and exciting ways. Fans observed that the quiet spoke volumes. On social media, conversations broke out. Fans of Caitlin claimed she was increasing awareness of women in athletics. She was accused by critics of pursuing personal glory and overshadowing other WNBA players. Look though, Caitlin wasn't attempting to overshadow anyone. All she was doing was pursuing her passion. And she was garnering favorable attention to herself and her league by doing this. Her success was portrayed as a threat, which said far more about her critics than it did about her. When questioned about Caitlin's performance at the RSM Classic during a news conference, one of the most vocal WNBA players even rolled her eyes. "I think we should be focusing on the players who are genuinely assisting league growth," she stated. "Our game won't be crowded with golfers." Yes, that comment was caustic, but it also revealed a serious lack of confidence. The WNBA's difficulties in successfully promoting its stars were being highlighted by Caitlin's growing popularity within the league. Additionally, several players were simply screaming their frustration at her rather than finding solutions to those issues. In the meantime, Caitlin continued to conduct interviews and respond to criticism with poise. She maintained her positive attitude by concentrating on her passion for golf and its unadulterated joy. In one post-round interview, she stated, "I just enjoy having fun and competing, challenging myself." She was attempting to bring people together, which is the reason behind sports interviews. Lovers and Caitlin crossover lovers found her even more endearing due to her genuineness and shyness. The attraction has been exceptional. Families lined up to welcome her at the RSM Classic. Even seasoned golfers were captivated to her captivating personality, and young daughters looked up to her as an example. Millions of people watched her 270-yard drives and discussions. She was more than just a golfer or a basketball player. She was genuinely turning into a cult golfer.